motion for approval of the agenda. Yeah,
Add the invoice to the agenda or?
yeah, can we? I just got this email this morning, this afternoon, that $180. So let's add that to.
How about this thing?
Okay.
Yeah, let's discuss that too real quick.
Okay,
Okay.
E1, right here, to discuss the Athletic Hall of Fame design,
Right on.
B1,
B1, yeah.
and then the invoice just added on
To the-
after all the other invoices.
Right.
I'll make the motion with the changes.
Okay,
I'll second.
second, okay.
Very good.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Of the minutes that are attached,
I'd like to make a change to reflect that the date of the minutes should be September 19th, not August 15th. And hopefully the person taking the minutes will do my favorite job.
Just slack it off.
no, she isn't.
He's the best. September,
We should have her in the Hall of Fame.
he's in the Nutcracker. Hall.
I'm not cracked Hall of Fame.
September what then?
September 19th. I'll make the motion to change.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you. Minutes.
Yes, we did.
Public participation. Public, anybody has a participate? Jeff, you have anything to say? You're public?
Not yet.
Well,
Not yet.
not yet. Well, this is your time because.
Yeah.
this
Or
is
at the end,
building committee,
right?
or at the end.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Dan, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. With me again is Mike Sasso. He's our document control specialist. For lack of also the man that moves all the information around as well as gets a good bit of time outside. So typical, it's in your packet, the commentary for this work put in place in the month of September. I can highlight a couple of things for you because the pictures that we have for B and A are pretty, they just basically show you finished product. So what I do note is that exterior doors have been being put in. They're almost at the point of completion now. The air handling units, we had one that hadn't been started. It has been started. Elevator 2 was inspected by the state and has now been approved for use. Similarly, elevator 1, the one that's closest and dedicated to the Board of Ed, has also gone through state elevator inspection. That was just 2 days ago. Lower level jip board. So work that's going on in the lower level now is the overhead electrical work. We have a little bit of mechanical that can get started in there, but primarily we have electricians doing the raceway work associated with the distribution of power. And that's going to be going on for another week or so. And that's in the tech ed space. See, I mentioned in area B, fixtures are finished, paint's finished, door hardware is complete, with the exception of some sound gasking, which we are working with the manufacturer on some tolerant discrepancies that are in there. They're basically finding a narrow gauge gasket that meets the specification requirements. At the former loading zone areas, this work is now nearly complete. We are still waiting on a couple of components above the ceiling, but the floors or the space is clean. First floor flooring and corridor, including the corridor, is finished. Final cleaning is now finished also on the first floor. Punch list been generated. We've been really focusing on punch lists in building B and in building A over the last month. We're at a point now where we're going to start that process with SLAM in a back check mode. So in area A, I mentioned a couple things. We had to finish on the exterior of the building. The sunshades are finished. Exterior doors are now finished. And Again, above ceiling work is finished, door hardware is finished, carpet's finished, flooring's finished. We're final cleaned and generating the punch list for the administration area. Slam is punched out now through everything through second through fourth floor. Slam is coming out on Monday to punch list the first floor. We have done about half of that work ourselves at this time. So in the photos, you see for area B and area A, some pretty pictures of the mechanical room. The only thing left to do down there is to go through the checks and balances, so to speak, of the hydronic pumps. All of the equipment's been started. And we brought the commissioning agent through. We're not ready to bring him in as a final verification yet, but he's over, he's taking a look at all the equipment. And we have to just final clean that space. The next photo represents, well, not on your screen, but in your packet is finished flooring in the stairwells. That's now completed through all three sets of stairs in area B and area A. With the exception of the last set of risers that goes down to the lower level at area B. So if you're looking in your packet, you see again more pictures of completed corridors, final clean. Through building B, we have a shot of the, so that's area A. I don't know, did I miss it? Did you put it? No, in your packet, we have a shot of the overhead work going on in the construction tech class. You can also notice that the overhead coiling door has been installed in there. And then we move to area A, again, more pictures of completed space, corridors complete. That's the shot at the fourth floor. Yep, so that's the Board of Ed. I know that some of you had the opportunity to tour the building. I find that space very comfortable. It's just the colors and tones in the space are, I think this really did a nice job. And so that's final clean now. I think there's a couple of little details to finish in there, but basically finished. And then this would be the media center. That was a shot taken after the flooring was finished. The product that you see on the floor is the stuff that they had utilized that area to lay down or store material until they laid the flooring. Those are big pieces of stair treads that go in the stair towers. Let's see, third floor, corridors finished. And we're into area C. So the picture you see is the auditorium, but I'll touch on a couple of key points. On the exterior, the projection screen wall plaster system got finished. Other mechanical related work, all the overhead work got finished. Ceiling pad installations are now complete in there. Millwork is installed in there. At this point, we have like the dressing rooms have countertops and things in there, and there's a few isolated cabinets. Also considered in area C is the bank room. We are marching through that, call it a renovation or a remodel. The backwards work is finished. They're going forward. The metal studs are installed. We have an in-wall inspection in that area tomorrow, and then we will be able to go forward with sheetrock. And then my comments regarding the auditorium are that the stage curtain and light rigging, the stage curtain rigging system is installed. These guys demobilized last week on Thursday. At this time, the lighting contractor's in there doing his components of the above stage work. He's still in there. He'll be in there for probably 2 more days. Let's see, and in the main room, you saw a picture of the sails. Those are actually at a stage now where we're installing we have LED light strips that go inside behind them that kind of give it a nice glow, as each of those are large drywall sails. And they all are concave, and they have, sloping at the top, sloping at the bottom. We had a kickoff meeting with not a kickoff, but for us, it was an ongoing meeting with the AV contractor when we brought in the school staff with Brian and started talking about AV components and different options that are available. We needed to get some information because we're building the graphic user interface, or what we call a GUI, so that the AV, we wanted to get some input on how they wanted that set up. Last week, we painted those walls with the exception of the sails, which take a little higher level of detail. But the balance of those walls are all painted now, and the millwork installation has begun at the stage, as well as the panels that are kind of expensive and nice panels that go at the rear part of the room. The framing that supports those panels is currently getting installed, and the panels have shipped from the manufacturer and will be arriving on Monday. Let's see, we have another picture of C. Oh, there's the bank room. There's the teller window
There you go.
and what will be an ATM that pokes through the framing there. And I'm still in area C. Oh, the band room, which is again, a very nice big room. Ceiling finishes were finished in there, and that's the flooring that was in progress at the time, a couple weeks ago. The flooring's finished now, and the millwork's actually installed in there now, and space is pretty well finished. Let's see, we're into we're back into area D. Your pictures or your packet contains a couple more pictures of the auditorium. I see one of the proscenium that shows what's in your packet is a picture of plywood. That's not the wall finish. That's the support plywood that goes behind your nice veneer plywood. Oh, he's got a pick. Oh, we let it out of the bag. Mike's got some extra pictures for us. So in the kitchen, all the final connections were complete. I think you should look at my notes, but the kitchen equipment service connection is complete. Flooring has gone in, including the resinous floor in the multi-use restroom. That's outside the cafeteria or outside the auditorium, kind of adjacent to the cafeteria. And the high school flooring, cafeteria flooring is in process. It's kind of an intricate design. For those who might have been on the tour last week, it was posted on the wall. We had to have a surveyor come in because the flooring pattern radiates away from the auditorium, in the same shape as you have a round auditorium facing the cafeteria. That pattern replicates as the radius grows and moves towards the exterior wall. So that was kind of complicated. The surveyor came out to provide the control so that they could lay out all the flooring, and we're laying floor.
On November 5th, special development for all the cafeteria workers, about 10 o'clock at the school, and showing how to turn everything on and so forth. So we really, they can't wait to get in there.
Yeah, we've got a couple of milestones ahead of us and related to the kitchen. We do a pre-test next week, and then we do a actual test with the local authorities. We're testing shutdowns. Gas service shuts down in the event of emergency, would shut down in similar event. All that has to be verified, so we're going through the last checks on that item. On your screen is the cafeteria again before it was flooring started, but that's what we cleared it out so then we could have it surveyed. I think next we go back outside to. We've had the concrete contractor out to Harge, as we call it, the finish on the exposed concrete. So there's a picture of some ongoing work there. Fencing has been started along that same loading dock elevation. And yep, exterior doors are set. Okay. In area G, our gymnasium, the flooring is finished. There's a nice, interesting shot of the T. Since the flooring finished, the bleachers are now installed. We're doing some work related to the gym. There's some rooms off the gym on the Route 8 side that it's kind of a locker restroom, single service restroom. And so we're in the process of finishing that space. Left to do in there is we have to install radiant heat and then final balance the air system. Final adjust the overhead equipment. And then that room is pretty well finished as well. Yep, didn't miss anything on my notes. Acoustic panels are up. You see them in there.
The rubber ones, I mean,
All the wall pads, yeah, the wall pads are loaded and getting ready to install.
Yep.
Nice. Okay, so moving ahead then to the middle school. Yep, so in area E, the ceiling system has gone in now throughout the building. And the trades are doing the overhead install for radiant panels, for light fixtures, for low voltage devices. What we call ceiling cuts, the partial tiles that go around the perimeter of the room. Casework, barely dribbled into there. We're getting 2 deliveries of casework next week for that space. Let's see. And then from the photos, you see ongoing work. All the walls are now painted in that space. As I mentioned, when the grid has gone in. We have a couple of progress shots for area F. That's the middle school media center. Has a similar oversized tile ceiling pattern with trapezoids and I think they're called rhombuses.
That's in Spain, Rhombus.
And so other things to mention, metal panels got finished with the main entry. We put most of the cement panels on, with the exception of some makeup pieces that they had to field verify and then order. So now you do see the facade of the building really coming together as you drive up Major Best Drive. What else do we have? There's that facade. And then you can see the guy pouring some sidewalks. And a lot of pictures of sidewalks.
a lot of sidewalk.
A lot of sidewalks now installed. So yeah, exterior work wise, the front, finishing off all the sidewalks, finishing off the curbs. We have topsoil, of course. Plants came on Tuesday of last week, so plant installation has begun. The topsoil is now seeded as well. In addition to, the building facade work. And what else do we have to share? And just site work saying that there's your exterior driveway. You can see a little bit of topsoil on the left. Or on the right, excuse me, on the left, you see a little topsoil and the large 2-inch riverstone that generally blankets a lot of areas around the generator. We have a small area adjacent to the play area that's also a cobble. And then as you go up the side of the building in the west driveway, it's along the side of the road there, underneath the overhang. There's a nice shot of the projection screen and topsoil. And it looks even better now with all the plantings and sprayed green. The play equipment arrived some time ago. We call this at the time of this photo. Since then, we've now put in the fencing around that. And yesterday and today, they installed the poured synthetic rubber surface. There's 1 3/4 inch thick rubber that goes down over that play area for anyone that falls off a piece of play equipment. More pictures of site work. I think the best way to see the site work is when we're looking at the drone shots. In the picture, you see some equipment still packaged. Those are like benches and other pieces of site improvement work. And the light poles, they've been installing light poles for about 2 weeks and pulling wire. We will be able to energize the lighting along Major Best Drive by next Friday. A little dark out there currently. Oh, we got a picture. We got today's pictures. With that, Mike, you want to speak to them?
Yeah, this is looking big courtyard in the high school. A lot of the plantings are in place. They had reseeded the courtyard, as well as most of the areas where topsoil was down. Final grading was complete. Trees are in. Got some of the light poles in there too.
Yeah.
Here's this morning in the auditorium. You can see the first coat of primer and paint are on all the backup walls. You get those sails pop a little bit more in this picture. You can see the carpenters are down doing the proscenium wall, going up the sides with the millwork. Similar to the sails, the proscenium wall gets accent lighting that kind of shines to the sides and gives a little bit more depth, I guess you want to call it that. This is the high school admin main area. Finishing or coming to an end here. Some window shade installation going on this morning, but all the flooring and base installed. This is what Dan was talking about earlier. This is the you can see some accent pieces in there. It's kind of hard to see far away.
Right, that's your high school cafeteria, kind of looking back towards Route 8 through the exterior window, but looking.
A lot of layout, a lot of prep with the flooring there, all the accent pieces and the radial bands that Dan mentioned earlier, as well as you can see overhead the lighting, the corridor is complete as well.
Yeah, there's another detail in there in the ceilings. There's what we call baffles. So there'll be a vertical plane of, I think it's 8 inches tall, 2 inches wide or 1.75 inches, and they hang between the pendant light fixtures. Be the last thing we install in that space.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's an older drone shot. So you don't get to see the one with all the concrete until you go to your packet. And then there's some more with the concrete. We placed another significant pad this morning. At this point in time, the last piece of concrete is the piece that is the curb and sidewalk that walks up to the middle school. Let's see, so other milestones to mention on the equipment side is hot water heaters, I call them hot water boilers, but hot water heaters have all been energized. I have them both. The water heaters and the boilers are both energized. We did go through the fire protection booster pump, maybe mentioned previously, but this month we energized the domestic water booster pumps. And now we have internet live in the building through all of the occupied area. Total Communications to the technology contractor that's hired directly by the new group here. They've finished their installation, bringing the internet into the building and livening up switches that drove the communication within the building. That's allowed the fire alarm contractor and the security systems contractor to finish programming, tie their information into the internet. And then today, Total Communications was on property. They're doing the background work. Rachel would know much better than I. They're doing some of the background work that allows the new school to become a hub as part of your overall, townwide or citywide network. Oh, Mike found a picture. Yep, so in that picture, probably 4 days ago, the only chunk of concrete that's not there is the one that's right in front of the middle school. And we've placed twice since then. I think there's only one more placement, possibly 2 more placements. The big milestones going forward for us, we have established our paving date. It's really predicated not so much as driven by the work around the building, but more driven by the date that we want to pave the Winthrop Road parking area at the same time. We are fine grading, as it's called, on the week of 11/11, and we are paving the week of 11/18. Those are about week-long events for both of those activities, and we are coordinating with the FF&E deliveries. FF&E deliveries are going to work staged around us. We were of the anticipation that student desks, which were coming from overseas, may have been delayed because of that short-term strike at the docks, but it turns out they weren't. And so our first FF&E delivery is next week on Wednesday. We will be taking 4 truckloads of furniture into the new high school. And then that's followed by the next contractor in line for the FF&E does the administration type of desks. So like Brian's desk will arrive and be installed, and they'll take about 2 weeks. And then we control again the site to do that paving, and then the balance of the product arrives to fulfill the rest of area C and D. And then there's a few more components that show up for the high school. So overall, that's moving along well. We have, in good shape on the punch list through that portion of the building. As I look ahead at the kitchen, we're final cleaned in the kitchen and doing those startups, so our kitchen is wrapping up. We'll next move to final clean the areas around the kitchen in the back of house. We'll final clean the areas around the academic, around the auditorium, the academic arts areas. And then wrap up by coming in to deliver the first floor of the middle school for temporary use. Still moving ahead generally as planned. The turnover dates I have established in your summary data. They haven't changed much month to month. We did have to absorb about a week in the final cleaning on the first floor of area A. That's about all I can tell you for what's going on. Is there any questions you might have on anything specific?
I have one question. On the bleachers, is that as far up as the bleachers are going, or are they just working?
No, I believe, well,
About 8 rows up, I think. 150 seats in the middle school gym.
Yeah,
so you're looking at the packet?
yeah, it looks like it's
Yeah,
5.
that's the
I
top.
thought there was more than that,
Uh,
but it
yeah, I
could be
thought
that.
there's more than 5 too, but there's 150 seats, but that is the height of it.
And they're only on one side of the room.
Correct.
Right, that's why I thought it was 8.
No other question or question?
When does the temperature start to impact us for like asphalt and concrete? Now that it gets cold at night, there's additives and things I know you guys can do, but when does that get in your way?
When it gets too cold.
Well, right,
Bad
well-
answer.
Thanks, man.
So we have the ability to place concrete in the colder weather. We're almost done placing concrete, so it's really not going to affect us. Once you get to, to 40 degrees as a peak, not at the low, then it becomes more troublesome. Asphalt can be paved. You have to wait until it's 40 degrees and rising. And so on paved days, like when we get to November 18th and we want to pave, if we're waiting until 7:30 in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning for it to get to 40 degrees. We have testing agency, the building or the testing agent does oversee all of the prior compaction, fine grade compaction, and then the asphalt compaction. So it's usually him standing out there and we're all watching the thermometer saying, okay, is it 40 yet? Can we go? And that's when we go.
Only other question I have, somebody asked me what the wind resistance of the building was, if anybody happened to know, with all the crazy storms and that have come through. Somebody said, what is the high school rated for? And I had no idea. I don't need an answer now, but if anybody ever happened to
Generally,
know.
110 mile an hour. winds,
yeah.
And the person, 2 people to John Jennings, 2 people to your left.
I'm looking it
Is
up.
one of those experts that does that.
Thanks.
That's exact information, but yeah, as far as my recollection of what is established in the initial structural drawings as the design criteria for the building, it was 110 mile an hour. But I'm working off of information that's now almost 20 months old.
Yeah, you're-
So the memory cells, I gotta be careful with.
You're crazy reliable, Dan. Nobody's thank you.
Okay, yeah, as far as upcoming work, I mean, you can scan through the notes I made. It's, we are now getting out of the space. It's all about running the floors through, final cleaning, balancing. The balancer's been mobilized, for over 2 weeks. And, he's got a lot of work in front of him. There's a lot of devices to verify flows on. So that's our primary look ahead. With his work moves into the commissioning agent's work. Once we establish those systems are working properly, we do the necessary paperwork, then the commissioning agent comes in to follow behind. How'd I do, John?
You were close. You were close. So basic wind speed, 125 miles an hour, and nominal wind speed, 93. So gusts up to 125 and nominal at 93.
Average them together, you were right on the money.
Okay, so the next thing I talked to is cost and schedule impacts. I just wanted to mention, so I put it again here, that the kiln is concerning for us. We have to run an additional circuit. As of Tuesday of this week, I did not check it this morning or yesterday. This is the third evolution of that particular change, trying to shave some costs. But that is still outstanding and will require the electrical trade to go back into the ceiling and pull into the circuit. But other than that, we don't really have, high cost items that we haven't spoken to previously. We still have a fair number of cost items out there to bring to closure, but they're not changing in magnitude. And then related to the schedule, I keep harping on and want to make sure I reiterate that we are doing our darndest down in the lower level. But there is, there is a difficulty in bringing that space to a point where we can receive the wood shop equipment in time for school start. We're going to see what we can do, but currently it shows that I'm ready for that equipment on January 9th. All else fails, that holds true, and we're able to maybe land the equipment. But whether or not it'll be all powered up and dust collection system finalized is to be determined. Move forward. I mentioned the bank room only because it's a pain. It's affecting that work in the high school cafeteria flooring as he tries to move down that corridor. We're still hanging sheetrock. I mentioned the kiln again. And then I mentioned the punch list moving out 1 week. That generally, instead of the last statement on the page says that furniture installation is scheduled to begin on October 28th, is now coming on the 23rd. And we're looking ahead at, we had an FF&E kickoff meeting. They invited the vendors to come through, take a look at the space, find out how they're going to get into the building. And as I mentioned earlier, we have both the elevators now past state elevator inspection. So they have both elevators to utilize for delivery. And the critical path runs through finishing the spaces on air and water balancing. And the last area we're going to finish is in the auditorium. The finish date does land still in the month of December, so that we're hoping to be able to have a complete clean carpeted seats installed by the end of December to allow 2 to 3 weeks of AV final commissioning and turnover, for actual use in January. As I look ahead, and part of today's distribution of the summary data was in today's distribution of the mini packet that Ed shared out this morning, is your summary data. Well, that's where you find this page. And notable changes, the 11/6 date under phase 2A. I took out the lower level completely, where before I was carrying the lower level and we just thought that was kind of a skewed piece of information because the whole lower level was suspended there for a while. So it just shows that we thought we would finish your 4 areas of the building on December 1st. We're actually finishing them close to the first week of November. We're doing well. We were able to accelerate the gym and the first floor of area E. So we're early on that turnover. All the dates are good until you get to area H. Area H in the schedule update that I provided to the group as part of an overall monthly report does show an extra week in the delivery of the work that we'll do next summer. And that's because we're in there manipulating the schedule as on a daily basis. Zach Mordenti is taking lead on working through the structural components, pouring the foundation, standing up the steel, putting the roof on. And as he's doing that, he's vetting out additional time that he needs for certain trades while we're trying to figure out ways to accelerate work in other areas. So I wanted to note that it's a little further out, but it's only a work in progress. We will do what we need to do to bring that portion of the building online for an August occupancy. And a refresher that, we may need 2 extra weeks in the gym into the school year of 2025, fall of 2025. Financially, you had very little change month to month. If you look at the construction budget, it was only a $9,000 change between your $162.6 million and your $162.7 million. And very little change to the construction contingency hits over the current in that period. Progress completion, 78%. What I like to do is I check that against where we are on the billing percentage. And billing percentage this month is at 78%. And if you look at the columns that show physical progress percent complete, we have an 86, a 77, and a 78. So we're billing again slightly behind where our physical progress is. So we're in a financially comfortable place. A lot of information, I know, put it all out there for you. But overall, your project is moving along. I'm glad that we have the opportunity to bring in some bulk FF&E early. There is still some work to be done in the spaces. Next week, your technology vendor comes in and puts in all the WAPs, the wireless access points in the ceilings of all the classrooms, and the wall phones. After which we'll final clean one more time before we're going to distribute all those desks into the classrooms. And then pave, and then take more product in the building. Security systems are ready to commission. Fire alarm systems tested out yesterday for the portion of the building that'll be occupied. So they did their, what we call pre-tests. They're going through that process. We've established now a list of approvals that we have to get through the local authorities. Everything from, you know, are all the signs at the right elevations, all the way up through all aspects of the building. If they want to check every GFI through all the classrooms, although John does that on occasion. You know, we give them that opportunity. So we'll be starting those walks. We had the fire department on site today, but we'll be starting those walks really in earnest in about 2 weeks, and they'll take us about a month, and then we'll be looking for that grand old opening. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the elevators, you mean just the high school portion, the elevators are operating, correct?
Yeah, there's 2 elevators in, well, there's one in B and one in A.
I met with the Coney people today.
Yep.
And she was under the impression that the middle school was in operation already, so. Just
So in
want,
order for the state elevator inspector to allow you to open an elevator, or you just basically put it to public use, you need all of the finished flooring in front of every landing. You also need to have the light levels at the appropriate point. And you need to have the fire alarm system for that portion of the building fully engaged. In the middle school, the elevator that takes people from first floor to third floor will not be available for opening of school. There's no reason for the student population to go up and down. The stairwell will also be locked off. The only access they have is to the 4 classrooms that are associated with that area. There's a set of restrooms that are there, and it's adjacent to the middle school gym that'll be utilized. So 2 of the rooms of, just as a refresher, 2 of the rooms will be used for changing rooms, and then 2 of the rooms will be used for reading. One more questions, and doors will be closed to the rest of the portion of the building, which I was asked yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind. We have a completion around May 9th for the balance of the building, and that would be reflected. Oh, look at that, May 7th. If you look at phase 2B, the 3rd row, that's your area E2, E3, and F123. Projected completion is 5759. What comes to memory? Must have just dazzled everybody. Oh, no feedback.
your dad.
And then we, after that, they will bring in the FF&E for those rooms also.
Yep, you have a June delivery of FF&E in there, and then the academic spaces of area H pull up the rear in July of next year. We did hold our first O&G build session for this school year.
I was gonna bring that.
Oh. I'm done.
Okay. John,
well, as you know, my reports are generally pretty brief, and this month will be even more brief. because we're in this unique situation where a lot of material testing is done. And we're going into the equipment testing and startup, so it's a bit of a lull before things really pick up, and Dan hit on a lot of the items. So right now, we reported up to item or field report 85. That does not include the report for this week. We're tracking 23 items as of my prior visit, and after this week's visit, that's dropping down to 16. And many of those items are forward-looking, just as reminders, and a couple of them are being taken care of currently. So I think we're in good shape with respect to that. So we are meeting with ONG, going through the list of items, making sure they get picked up. The goal is to have anything related to the high school picked up before we get into the FF&E stage, so that the building is all set and ready to go. CES has issued field report 10. We have not gone through it in its entirety. Most of the items they picked up on their list, they 38 items are relative to building E and F, which is in progress. So most of those items are related to in progress work, but we're going to go through this list to just make sure everything gets taken care of in high school if there are such items. Special inspections, again, it's checking for steel, fireproofing and whatnot. They've revisited the high school. They've made a couple patches. Those have all passed inspections. So materials tests, there are no outstanding deficiencies. Special inspections, there are no deficiencies. Commissioning is just starting, and we're going to monitor commissioning as it goes through. And generally the way commissioning works is when a problem is identified, it gets addressed before the equipment is signed off. So those issues don't linger. They get resolved as part of the process. It's more balancing, testing and adjusting through that part of the phase. Indoor air quality hasn't changed. We're still tracking at 65% of construction waste for recycling. Target is 75. We're hoping it does improve, but we are tracking at 65% for recycled waste. And there haven't been any stormwater issues. The erosion control has been holding up. In fact, some of it might actually be able to be taken down, but for now it's staying up just to keep whatever areas that haven't had any vegetation grow and soil stabilize, that'll stay in place to prevent any erosion until it is engaged. Any questions?
Thanks, John.
Okay.
It'd be one, that's you, get on.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Been Here's my biggie. I know. All right, so this is the latest design from Right Way Signs. They are producing this product directly for the Hall of Fame committee, I guess it would call, right? Which Pat is a member of. And this just came out yesterday, I think it was, and pretty quickly, the few people who were on the email started gravitating towards options 3 and 4. I actually said 3, but now I'm convinced 4 would be better, but I wanted to run it by you guys and see what you guys all thought. If you remember, we went to the school's, what do you call it, motto, right? Rather than the T, because we already had a T nearby. So it was kind of redundant. So they did a good job of that. So that's it. I'd like to know what you guys think so I can report back to Riley at Right Way Signs. I think the only other thing would be for Kemp's crew to just satisfy themselves that the materials are, the same quality that we're using elsewhere, and And that's it. So as a matter of design, does anybody have a preference over one over the other?
I like 4.
I like 4.
Everybody seems to like 4. I think you guys are right, but
Easiest to read.
4, everybody good with 4? I agree. Um, So I will report back to them. Kemp, if you would just, your girls will be working with Riley just to make sure that the materials are, you know, something that we can be all proud of.
Yeah, well, yes, we'll take care of that. And I agree. I think 4 is the right choice.
Okay, cool. 4 it is. I know. 5 is good, but hard to see.
Yeah.
All right, 4 it is.
4 it is.
Thank you, everyone.
Next item is the application and certificate of payment for $3,736,495. Could I have a motion to approve? Pat, second. Doug, oh, Fiona,
Were you writing down?
what?
Would you write down?
Fiona. Discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay, Dan, you're up.
We on the PCOs?
CCOs.
Okay. So your packet contains a substantial number of PTOs processed over the course of the month. I can provide a brief description of each. I'll start with PCO 307R1. This represented a $2,400 increase to the GMP, representing additional EPO buttons, emergency power off buttons, for the gas equipment, just generally overlooked in the design of the building. We had to add some push buttons to kill power. The next item is a draw from the CM contingency. We had carried this cost previously. We just had to ink it on the in the due process here. So in my assignment of the scope of work for caulking at millwork, I picked up millwork against adjacent walls, but not between the sills and the windows. So we had the caulking contractor come through and did a nice job on that work. So a CM contingency draw for that. The next item is in the folding grills that pull in at your multi-use restrooms. The cavity that the grill pulls into didn't have an architectural detail inside that cavity. So when the door was pulled closed and you looked into the cavity, you saw the raw back of stud and sheetrock. So we engaged the sheet metal contractor to create panels to go inside there and had the painter paint them. So that's an additional cost, or a cost to the GMP of $8,000. As you may recall, we changed the lettering at the auditorium, and we wondered just how expensive those additional letters could be. And after some time and energy, this cost came down to $7,000. This started off at $8,000, and it's just expensive. The numbers are more, and I couldn't get the labor any cheaper for you. So there's a $7,000 hit to the cost of the project there. The next item is a cost to the GM contingent, or the CM contingency, and that was to pull down the building, the portion of the building, the existing building that was the band rooms. As part of gross or mass demolition, we would not have had to create a make safe or kill the services at the point of demolition. So we have each of the trades that were involved in creating that environment. We took the cost to the CM contingency because, again, we needed it to sequence the work of the job. And there's a larger cost there, $27K. And carried in last month's big hit to the CM contingency. That's why you didn't see a big hit this time. This next PCO is 348. As you recall, there were 2 additional donated benches, and you made a decision where to put the bench. And so it was issued as a proposal request, but the additional concrete to put under the bench was provided at no cost. And that's a $0 hit. The next hit again comes against the CM contingency, and that was for the little curb that we added to separate the sidewalk from the driveway. When we negotiated the cost for temporarily putting the new driveway in for your drop off, which works pretty well, I have to say. We didn't have everything covered, so we had to pick up the cost of that curb. We picked up the cost of some signage and some shimming associated with the asphalt. $8,000 hit to contingency. In the band room and orchestra room, there was a change to the ceiling system. Minor change, but the net cost was a savings, minor savings between what was a bunch of 4x4 panels and 2x4 panels to become 2x4 panels and 2x2 panels, and detail about something small. Again, working the lower level to try to get you best pricing. There was no longer a need for a spray booth room. It was a piece of equipment that was no longer needed. And so that cost of the equipment was credited back to the owner. There was a $4,000 return to the owner's budget. The next item goes back a long way to MJ Daly, who had to make a change in the kitchen way back at the time of underground work, where the question came up as to the kettles that dump into the underground piping. Underground piping on your project is PVC, but the temperatures of those kettles warranted cast iron. And so at recommendation from the kitchen equipment contractor and then vetted through the kitchen consultant, we tracked the time and material, but we were haggling over whether we were going to put that into the trade has a labor and material allowance. But ultimately, we have been utilizing that allowance. It couldn't carry that cost any longer, so we moved the cost to an owner change. The next item is PCO 353. I have to caveat this, if I can caveat your motion. This PCO is not acceptable. We're negotiating these numbers with MJ Daly on their back charge. For an example, the cost to pull out the windows and put the windows back in so that we could install the temporary ductwork outside. The aluminum guy spoke to the plumbing or the HVAC contractor, and they agreed to not charge them. So if I can, when you approve these PCOs, if you can exclude PCO 353, because the numbers are going to change.
Dan, can you go back one?
Yeah.
With that kettle, what was the resolution?
We put cast iron, we took out the PVC and we put cast iron in. For a certain length of pipe. So I think it was like 20 feet, my memory serves me right, from where those floor troughs are towards the drainage system.
When you say kettles, what do you mean by that?
They're large. They make potatoes.
Okay.
You want to boil potatoes? They don't actually make potatoes. I don't know what they boil in
No,
there,
macaroni.
but they make macaroni in there.
So it's just discharging boiling or hot water?
It's discharging boiling hot water.
Are these in the ground or under the grade, or are they above grade?
The kettles, of course, above grade, and then
Well,
they
they
pour
cast iron
into a
pipes.
large floor trough that's about, 2.5 by 4 feet. And there's 4 of them. And then, so that piping connects to that is below grade.
So when it was
It
designed,
goes back a year.
when it was designed with PVC, but
It was designed
PVC
PVC.
can't handle that type of temperature, so they changed the cast iron for a certain amount of time to cool down before it hit PVC.
Yes. Make sense? I am on 354, which represents when we changed the cafeteria, high school cafeteria footprint to include that area below. Part of that change, the design group decided the diffusers would look better as linear slot diffusers in lieu of the squares. We've been going around and around and around on that one with the trade in order to reduce cost, and ultimately this is the finalized acceptable to CES, acceptable to SLAM, negotiated final number. What was your PR 42 R2? We all love the high school cafeteria ceiling though. Yes, we do. Pretty nice. We had to incur a cost to paint the what are known as lintels up above that supporting masonry work. There's galvanized steel angles, and I didn't assign a paint job to those. And there was some coloration that was in the base specification that wasn't applied. The contractor the steel contractor had some leverage, so to speak, or had some firm ground on why he didn't cover it, because I told him he didn't have to when I wrote my special instructions. So I didn't own the galvanizing color galv, and I didn't own the paint. So a contingency hit of just under $8,000. Chiller rail and stair 8, when the railings came out to walk on platforms that go up on the roof by the chillers, it turned out there was a conflict between where the railing was and some control equipment. We had the railing contractor cut them back. It was a contingency draw because, again, I think, you know, it's a small cost related to something that I didn't pick up in coordination. We have multiple areas in the building where you can't use a wall bumper because the door handle hits, either the wall doesn't extend far enough or something gets in the way of where that wall stop would be. So we have to introduce a stop on the piece of hardware on the door. And so we have a cost of $2,500 for those. That's some of them. We have another batch coming through for buildings E and F, or areas E and F. Unfortunately, one of your doors, just to give you an order of magnitude here, one of your doors got damaged, and I could not assign that damage. I don't know who broke it. He let it hit the floor, and so a single door is a $1,300 cost. Total cost of the change is $2,000 because we're also replacing a door that got damaged for a hose valve. You have 362, which is temporary toilet costs. Spoken of that one enough. Can't speak highly or enough about fireproof patching. We've been through it multiple times. We will see 2 more costs associated with fireproof patching. But it's a matter of the building's duration out in the field. Most of this is rain damage, water damage. And we are pretty stickler on making repairs to what is a building safety system. 364 is a no-cost change between trades for damage that was able to be assigned from MJ Daly to the added cost of the ceiling trade. We had to modify a catch basin top because I remember top of frame elevations changed, and so we had to bring it down. So we had a grading question that changed the elevation of a catch basin top. Let's see, there's 366. As you all may know, we were asked to assist in the investigation of subsurface conditions over what were in future ball field areas, as well as some excavation that we have to do around the existing school for large cuts. We wanted to see if there was bedrock there. So we were engaged to the site work contractor to dig some holes. And as I was informed today, the results of that testing are back.
This afternoon, yeah.
We get to now share that out with the design team, gives them a little more information on, you know, what the quality of soils are. What we were really trying to find is if there was any bad soil in the areas below the ball fields that we could find out about earlier than later. I won't know until I see the reports.
I looked at him, I still don't know.
We had small back charge trade to trade.
Can I just ask a question on that?
Go ahead.
Would we be able to get that information prior to the election, just so that, because that's what a lot of.
We have the
people-
report.
Right,
It's
but
just
can you
somebody who
let,
has
we
an
probably
idea.
won't meet before then.
What's that?
We probably won't meet before then, but a lot of people are asking that, so if we could know that.
Yeah, I
for
don't know,
sure.
we'll share it to the group,
Perfect.
once somebody summarizes it.
We need
Do little
We need the
analysis.
dumbed down version.
It's a lot of big words.
We need the
Yes,
clip notes.
Depending on if it's glaring, I can pick it out for you. But if it's, if it's of a more highly or a more technical nature of just what the gradation requirement, gradation quality of the product that's out there, that would have to be deferred to a geotech. But if it says big blatant, I hit a bunch of stumps. I can draw that out for you.
Yeah, I think for us, it would more be anything that would be a barrier to the turf, right, versus. Because the stumps wouldn't be with it.
Well, that's not suitable, right?
Right, I think the biggest concern here is that you're putting a synthetic product over the earth. We know that the earth has been there since the school was constructed. We also know that back some years ago, some effort was put in because there was some settlement over a couple of the fields. And that was maybe a decade ago. And they remained relatively flat since. But if you're gonna invest in a more expensive product, you wanna route out anything that might be buried, because you don't want a settlement a decade from now. Not under synthetic, you can avoid it.
Far do they go down?
That I didn't witness. I think the driller kind of looks to see if there's no inconsistency in what he's seeing coming out of the ground, then he doesn't go too far. If he's concerned about it, then he might go a little deeper, 10 feet.
Yeah, 10 to 13 feet, usually,
13.
or if the bit hits rock or,
Right.
Or refusal, the bit can't go any deeper. Is it a large rock? Is it a large boulder, or is it, bedrock? There's only a couple of areas behind your existing gym, as currently the grade is high and walks you up to the turf field. But when we demolish the school and we finish the road, we have to take that down to the elevation of what is the first floor. So those are areas we wanted to see if there's rock there. Is the grade sloping up because there's bedrock below grade? And we didn't hit anyone. I knew that from those guys on the excavator reporting back to us.
Thank you.
I have a couple left, and that is 370. It's a small detail in the kitchen. We're building masonry walls, and we didn't have a detail to trim when the masonry opening around the window comes back to the main wall. And so we went back to SLAM, and they elected to add some stainless trim around the window. It'll cost $2,700. And then in the event, as we were installing the stage rigging, it was noted that there was steel shown on the contract drawings, but going way back, for those who remember, when we bought the job through the structural steel contractor, we provided a model. That was to accelerate the project. So when the designers moved to the paper drawings, they picked up a couple of small things. What this is literally a small thing. It's a stabilizer. All the rigging beams that live over the stage needed to be tied from moving laterally. And so there's a larger beam above, and they put these little clips on to stop those beams from moving. And I couldn't hold the structural steel contractor responsible. So he got paid to provide those clips, and then we paid the rigging contractor to install those clips at a cost of $5,000. They will be slowing down. Although change event numbers, so as a metric, we look to see how much money is moved month to month. We also look at a quantity of the number of change events, as we call them, from month to month. We haven't been able to reduce that number to less than, say, on an average 20, 22 events per month. But we do see that trailing off now that we're into final finishes to the bulk of your building. So I won't be having to explain quite this many changes. But as again, what
Tell Serio.
yeah. He's not really trying to keep his
I
job that
know,
way.
he's doing a great job. He's moving stuff fast so we can get it done.
And that's the key, the key is to get it done. And your bottom line is, it's been forecasted properly. And he has the ability to go back to the trades, get the paperwork that's necessary to package these in the best way that we can to present them to the state for reimbursement. I guess another quick note for me is the state has started reviewing your submitted change orders. I am engaged with a gal at the state that does that review. We have meetings once a week So she can ask me questions and I can change her mind from being what we know as ineligible to eligible. If she doesn't understand it, it's ineligible. So as I can explain what happened, these clips. She's gonna try to say they're ineligible, and I'm gonna explain that, just as I just explained, they didn't get bought. They were never part of the project. They were on the paper. We knew we needed them. But they weren't in what was on the bid documents, so. The state didn't pay for them twice. The state won't pay for anything twice.
This is the same one that I went through with the FF&E. Just shoot me later. Okay, could I have a motion to approve all of them except we're deleting item PCO 353. Have a motion?
Okay.
Second, John. Discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay, next is the analysis of payment, just let you know that I put in the next payment for the state on October 1st, and today at 3:53, estimated payment request number for the Torrington High School, Middle School, and Central Office has been approved, so hopefully that money will be coming in within the next 10 days. Last month, it came in within, I put it in the first, it came in right before the end of the month, so they're working hard on getting this, because when I put it in on the first, that afternoon, they said they got it, looks good, we're now evaluating, so we'll see what happens. So you got a list of analysis of payments up to, not this one, you can see all the contractors, how much we paid them. Next one is payment and invoices. First one,
So Ed, if I can.
oh yeah, I'm
interrupt,
sorry.
I think we might have missed one. I think we might have missed agenda item C. Did I miss that?
What is that?
O&D's application for payment?
No, they-
Oh, yeah.
We passed.
Yeah, the guy who looks $3 million, you miss it?
I missed it. That's shocking.
Yeah.
Thank you, sorry.
Oh.
Okay.
We'll take care of it.
Okay, please, thank you.
Sure, I have.
Well,
I did.
okay.
I'll take the credit for it.
No muffin for you next month.
All right,
Okay, invoices,
Invoices,
fire.
thank you. B&L companies, 4,000, excuse me. $793.25. Have a motion to approve. Donna, second. Doug, thank you, Doug. All in favor? Aye, opposed. Next one is our commissioning agent, $1,805.93. Have a motion to approve. Leona, second, Ellen. Discussion. All in favor? Aye, opposed. Next, Slam, $41,225. Have a motion to approve. Fiona. Second, Doug. Thanks, Doug. You're the man.
Yeah. This is
All
what
in
happened.
favor? Aye, opposed. Tri-State has two. As you can see, it's getting lower and lower because of, we don't need the testing. We'll get testing when you start the
yep, you'll get it for the asphalt here soon, and then,
Right.
in the next summer.
Right. They have two invoices, one for $977, the other one for $1,456, the total of $2,433. Have a motion to approve. Pat, and second is Donna. All in favor? Aye, opposed? And the last one I just got, as you can see, today on the 17th, storage for $180 for National Library relocation. I will be meeting with them in a couple of weeks, and then Mike Wilson will be meeting them for their own, moving in the other 4th and 5th grades, but I'll be meeting them to move the 7th and 8th grade books to the high school this summer. Have a motion to approve the $180 down. Second. Pat. You. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next. Comments for the good of the order, John?
Nope.
Doug?
Nope.
Pat, I mean, yeah.
Great job, guys. Thanks for all the information.
It's just one thing, I've been reading a lot about, where they're tearing down the factory buildings, about a rat problem from the demolition. Now, I hope this, since this high school's an active school, we don't have a rat problem there. But is there some mitigation that's done before we tear a school down to make sure that we don't create a problem for the neighbors?
Not currently planned. I've experienced that in previous projects, not in Connecticut. So it's something we should speak to. Have you had any, experiences that you can speak to? Believe it or not, I give you a gross graphic experience that I had. I was tearing down a building in San Jose, California, and they had a rat problem. And so when I went to the health department, they said the best thing you can do, there's nothing else you can do. Try to exterminate, of course, before you knock it down. In this case, it was not really viable. Lock all the doors of the adjacent buildings. Don't let them into your new building and just let them go.
That's some good advice.
I hope it's that, and it was it was a very uncomfortable thing to watch. So it's a viable concern, and if Dean has any experience or knows that they.
Well, I know we do have our contractor comes in for road and pest control.
Yeah. By state statute, pest control in the schools.
Yeah, I mean, assumed it was a different situation.
Quite
than
often.
the factory building is, but
We may have a squirrel too running around, but we haven't seen any bats so far, so.
No, that was the.
Unless they
That was-
relocate.
Yeah,
Not an abandoned building either, so it's
Yeah.
less likely.
When you pile
Good
on
thoughts. though. It does
you
come
would
up.
have mice, you would have some, see.
Donna.
Great, thank you.
Pat.
also.
Mr. Sasso.
Also, thanks.
Can you talk to the group real quick about final cleaning? Because you guys have final clean a number of times.
Nope, once. And
Well, I
we're
mean-
about to
You
do
clean,
again.
you clean, you put the signs up, right?
Yep.
And
And
then
then
now you have to clean again.
and then we punch, right, and so in order to punch the space properly and to have a comfortable space to invite John and Slam to walk through the building. And develop a punch list, we final clean ahead of that. It also exposes any defects that you might see in flooring or windowsills or that kind of thing, right? In this scenario, we had some of our contractors, of course, coming back through the space. We try to limit their bringing of debris or dust back into the space. But of course, some gets brought in. And then what I've been leaning on my partners to the right is the trades that the city had or the are hired directly to do the technology in the spaces also had to come into the space and they weren't timely and they didn't get in before we final cleaned. So we are going to now final clean again.
Okay.
Before we allow the furniture people to set product in the classroom spaces. Okay. It's what I call a fluff clean. So if you can imagine in the corridor, there's foot traffic. But as you go into a room, you're not supposed to go into that room without a booty on your feet. If the door gets left open, the foot traffic that's going down the corridor is going to kick up a little dust because there's still paper protection in the corridors. That's the kind of dust that has now migrated into the classrooms. So yes, beginning Monday, the 28th, we will take about 4 days with a crew of 4 to re-wipe all of the surfaces in the room. And that's the extent of the next clean.
Okay,
And
so,
Dan, we contemplated that in the bidding documents. This is not an additional service. Though. Part of the way that we, based on our experience, something we know is beneficial to the project. So we bought competitively at the beginning. It's not something we're paying for.
See how Dave always helps me out there. He did remind me that I did assign a cost to come back and re-clean right before FF&E in the biggest contract.
okay, so,
Provide additional cleaning. Let's not call it re.
Right. Oh, there you go. We provide additional cleaning.
yeah,
So after
We'll pay for
FF&E,
twice.
after FF&E is brought in,
you're not gonna
is there a final cleaning at that point, or?
That is right. Then it's your building, it's your FF&E people that have well, the people that have brought in that, whatever level of dust is being.
Well, not only dust, but I mean, there's gonna be packaging and
Well,
unpackaging
they're responsible.
They're responsible for that.
and stuff.
They're responsible for all the contents of all those boxes, whether it's foam, plastic,
Got it.
right, all that stuff.
And at that point, you're gonna get that nuisance dust that at that point is.
It's kind of like living in the building.
But when the furniture guys leave, then it's on the district to clean it.
So you'll be cleaning.
After the
more
furniture guys come in.
After the furniture and before January 20th. Somewhere in that window.
Right. That's,
Overtime.
it's tricky, right, because you got 2 schools, really that are clean. Okay, 78%, right, we've done about. The project.
78%
Yeah.
on the build side and averages about that.
And dailies, I think, this is one here, right, dailies at 89. I think you're still okay.
I'm doing what I can to reduce what they bill on a monthly basis appropriately. Their major cost is really virtually complete. There's 11 air handlers on the building and only one of them is not on the building. And all of the piping is complete through all of your entire building with the exception of the renovation. So yes, so it's a fair.
How much of those chill beams are done in the middle school?
In the bills,
Yeah, middle school, they're all done.
they're
They're up, they're
actually,
plumbed, everything.
the control valves were all installed.
Oh,
The chill beams were set in about through the second floor. They're still on the third floor here, setting the beam in the grid and then tying the hose to it. So yeah, the radiant panels through the middle school, they still have about 3 weeks worth of work left. Other than that, they don't have much cost left. They just have to do the part that starts the building and wraps up the details so that we can balance.
all the facing. And we're holding their retainage.
Yes.
So that's
Can I
good.
ask a question back on the cleaning? Why would we be doing cleaning for walkthroughs? Why would we be doing cleanings for walkthrough, but not a cleaning at the end? Because to me, that seems like that's gonna be a ton of overtime for the custodians to have to do all that cleaning
We
at
have
the
to
end.
final clean in order to get to a point where we can punch out the space. It has to be clean. Construction is a dirty business. Your windows are filthy, your countertops are filthy. So we need to clean. That's called final cleaning. That's what we bought. That's a package. It's literally a trade package, one of my 28. What Dave mentioned is the fluff clean. That's just an allocated number of hours that we felt was appropriate for them to come back at this stage to swipe everything down again. And then the building's yours. Then the building has FF&E in it, it has desks in it, has smart boards in it. It's ready to turn over for children entering. You need to clean it beginning a week before that and for the life of the building.
Has it ever been done where the building committee pays for that one clean after the furniture gets put in?
Yes. But it has in some projects, some towns will do it.
Yeah,
They'll
that's
pay-
right, with my
And literally on
understanding.
the last job, the same contractor that does the floor clean came in and took all the furniture, put it all in the corridors and re-cleaned the space and put all the furniture back again. $25,000 on 80,000 square feet.
But if, you could pay more than that in overtime, and I think it's an expense that wasn't budgeted for by the Board of Ed, so I think it's something that we should consider, at least what the cost would be to do that. At a strained time for custodial staff anyways, I think that is. I mean, it might just be me, but I just think that's a lot to
My
ask them to
contractor
do.
would be happy to provide that labor and get paid for it. That's the work that they do. It's not in my contract.
I mean, I don't know what other people feel, I just think that's a big ask to do.
That depends.
You're gonna, I mean, listen, you're gonna have some time when the furniture's in, to when you occupy the space, your time to make that decision.
For the bulk of the building, you'll have plenty of time there. As we get to the end game, as we come out of the middle school gym and we head into that last area that we're finishing up, there's not a ton of time between when the furniture arrives and when your children will be arriving. But to your initial point, it is a significant undertaking that team staff would have to figure out how to do.
Is this something we can get a price for? Just to, we ask the vendor and say, hey, Here are the options.
You must know how much the fluff cleaning costs.
Right, I know, yeah, I have an anticipated, 4-van crew for 2 weeks to go through the building. Okay. But that's without furniture in their way.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't-
I wouldn't put the furniture out in the hallway. I think I would just clean around it.
Yeah.
That's a huge job to move all that
But you
furniture.
may
out.
want to revisit that once you get there. What we're trying to do is we postpone this fluff clean. Next week when the wireless access points go in. That's the last activity with the exception of hanging the smart boards. So we're cleaning after your last activity. The only person that's really got to go back into that room is the balancer. That's getting into the ceiling to check water flows and check air flows. And then the guy that's gonna come in and hang the smart board on the wall. How dirty is it gonna be? It's a brand new school and a bunch of new kids are coming into it. You might want it really clean, really nice, spectacular.
But it's gonna be months in between. I
But
mean,
it's
I think
gonna
there's
be 6
contractors that
weeks
could
in
clean
between.
it without moving all the furniture just to make it clean to start.
Yeah, I mean, I think the
People
cleaning
carrying the
that's gonna,
furniture in there are gonna make it less.
well, yeah, I mean, and the cleaning that's gonna have to happen after that is the cleaning that. If you can't, what's left from the FF&E. Really should not be that much more than what's gonna happen in that building when it's used every day. It's not, it's not gonna be encumbered with a bunch of debris. If there's a bunch of debris, then the furniture people aren't doing their job. So it's,
It's the same cleaning that Dean's team does probably on a daily basis. Dry mops of rooms.
But Dan, you just mentioned that it's 4 guys for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
To do the 4
fluff
floors
cleaning.
of A and B.
a fluff thing, right?
Right.
So we would make the assumption that Dean's
But he-
team would need.
well, but even that though, but that's also cleaning some, I mean, that's windowsill surface. I mean, there's definitely,
Windows still serve.
there's definitely more in that cleaning than you'll have to do after the FF&E.
Yes.
So.
I guess I was just thinking to Dean's team, to Fiona's point, that's a lot of time that those guys may not have, and depending on what it costs to have a, we'll call it a regular clean before it goes through. I don't know, Dean, you.
Yeah, we'll,
You know, I think it's gonna be a minimal amount of debris left over, duster with the FF&E in there, but it's gonna have to be addressed. You're gonna have to go, somebody's gonna have to go in there and clean up before the kids walk into the school. And if, depending on the time frame when the FF&E is complete, and if the building sits, you're gonna be still balancing and testing at that time.
Right.
So, you're just gonna have,
People
You're
take
gonna have two
tiles out.
Probably
Still gonna have
Yeah.
two buildings.
you're gonna have two guys.
But they have to also clean the old building. Because the
Right.
kids are still gonna be in the old building. I think that's the issue.
Yeah,
that
time.
It's not just the new building.
So I think, Dan, if I may, I think there's no harm in you have the contract, you have the relationship, just getting a price as to what would be after the FF&E and they're not moving all the furniture, just going there and doing the cleans.
Doing a dry mop and wiping surfaces.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then we can make the decision as to moving forward. If that's what I hear, I think that would just be beneficial, knowing a number going into it. As if it's worthwhile doing or doing it on our own.
Yeah.
I hear what everyone is saying. It may not be a lot, maybe it is, I don't know, but there's something we said to not have our
You
guys
guys make prevailing wage, right? Paying these cleaners, a significant
Prevailing wage,
wage.
yeah. Plus all benefits.
Right.
Right.
$80,
Yeah.
probably $50 an hour.
Yeah.
$80 an hour.
Just remember when years ago, not years ago. When you had COVID, we had those guys come in. To clean all the rooms at night. Remember? And the schools. It made it easier. To hire them, because you're gonna pay prevailing wage,
off the project.
yeah.
Would that not be reimbursable and extra cleaned?
What? No,
It was pretty tough getting the first one through.
Yeah.
When I carried that cost, I was questioned by it and I explained. Kind of how I explained it to you guys and they bought it.
Okay. So
Thank you.
we'll work on that.
We can get a couple.
I think you could get a quote outside the project scope,
which is.
so you're not paying the prevailing wage. And then these guys will give us the price too. I
Right.
mean, obviously, they're gonna be higher.
You're paying, remember, you're paying prevailing wage, you're paying, the 403B, you're paying all that pensions.
We don't really need the middle school thing initially go.
No,
except
no,
for
it's
four.
not.
It'll be,
The areas
yeah.
to be occupied.
Yeah,
right,
so.
So we're able to bring in outside contractors to clean while you guys still own it?
No, because at that point, you're gonna.
At what point is the turnover where it's ours?
Looking at substantial completion paperwork.
Is there a date? Or is there when the FF&E is placed?
No, well, when we receive substantial completion, at that point, the building is under the care and custody of the city. And
Right.
do with it as you wish.
Do we have that date?
What?
It's probably the third week of December.
So from third week of December to January 16th is the time where everything's gonna be done. FF&E is gonna be in, balancing is gonna be done, testing the building.
Portion, the caveat I'll add is that that last section of the middle school doesn't wrap up quite as quickly. It might push into the first week of January.
we don't want to start down the corridor there that we're taking temporarily.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah.
That'll be the last thing. I mean, if you gotta clean that, you gotta.
Using the funds, I mean, building construction funds in the meeting, and wish you that.
Say that again.
The
Well-
funds, you would use the funds for the construction.
Number one, if we have the funds. Number two, it's at a much higher cost.
No, I understand that, but I'm referring to the
Either
other
case,
contract you have
If
mentioned.
it's non-reimbursable, let's say the state won't pay us to do it a third time, which is typical, they would pay for that. Or if you decide to contract for it outside and not go through a bid process and stuff, they're still gonna just say it's non-reimbursable. Funds can come through this group if you choose to go through it.
Right.
Choose
Right.
that path.
We'll work on that. We get a price, we'll talk about getting the price being and figure out. And so a couple other things, January 4th is gonna be the last basketball game in the gym. I've talked to the superintendents, plural, about this, plural. And there's gonna be tours of the old building, looks like from 2 to 4. There'll be a basketball game, girls' basketball game at 4, boys' basketball game at 6. Then, just like we did with the women's sports, we're going to the brewery afterwards for an after event type of thing, the whole
Not
thing.
sanctioned by the school,
With that,
not sanctioned.
not sanctioned by the school, sponsored by the Torrington Varsity Alumni Club. ONG's making a nice contribution. So that's Saturday, January 4th. Yep. 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock for tours. There's an alumni group out there that's anxious to help with the tours, so that's good. We're gonna file, Jesus, I almost said coach. Superintendent Wilson asked me to file a facility use form, just as a matter of record. So Paul's doing that.
Why is the December 20th game, why can't we play that home game? So January 4th is the last game?
Yeah, you guys, the boys and the girls both have like 8 front-loaded games each.
And then they travel.
Right. I don't know about that December 20th thing. I don't know what that's about.
right.
Okay, this one's for Kemp. Kemp, you still there?
Still here.
So ONG's doing work. And ideally, it would have been perfect if we had the design for the electronic sign, the foundation, I guess you'll call it, right? The footings or whatever the case may be. Because that work is being done right now. In fact, they're spreading topsoil around it. So what's the status? I know you already put in the application to the city, but what's the status of getting details so they could do their work?
Yeah, we issued that proposal request earlier this week. I think it was Tuesday. It was either Monday or Tuesday. I don't recall, Dan.
Right, but that was the sign construction. Outstanding is the location, civil drawing or landscape drawing, and the power side. So I know those were still a work in progress.
Oh, yeah, okay. We'll get that to you early next week.
Okay, you're gonna go through a pricing exercise and then you're gonna get to the work and put in the foundations once you have the plan. You can't push the cart faster than the wheels will roll.
Well, the cart is dumping topsoil in the ground
And the
that we're
topsoil,
gonna be ripping up.
the topsoil part is your cost. Just move it out of the way.
I understand.
It's to
I understand. It's not,
lower the level of concern. We were able to bring power to the location because we knew where it was going. So we already ran the raceway to bring your electrical to that point. So that's a good thing. Mario is concerned legitimately. I've been in his shoes where every little thing that you put in place that has to get removed. But in this circumstance, it's really literally just an 8x10 square of topsoil that's gonna get pushed out of the way.
Again, I like to see stuff get done once, right? I mean, I got
Oh,
you.
so do I, man.
Yeah, right, you're gonna get those, right?
Sad.
Okay. The other thing is not so much for you, but, well, this affects you. That back sign at the back entrance.
The Daily Drive sign?
Yeah, right, down near the apartments, right? Can't we just mount the sign to the center panel of the fencing rather than, again, moving all those rocks, digging piers, I guess piers, right, into the stone?
Well, actually, in that location, if you all remember, your daily drive entrance is encumbered by a lot of utilities that go underground, which is why we had to change the model. We had to modify the foundations for the gates. What I made Jeff Lamothe aware of, Jeff being the construction administrator for SLAM that's on the site every week. That's got a standard 3.5 foot deep foundation. What I let Jeff know was that there's no way to put a foundation there. So the design for the foundation for that particular sign would have to be a different style. It's known as a mat. Doesn't go down 3.5 feet. It just becomes a thickened concrete section that's shallow.
Okay, yeah.
And then that got to talking that we should take that third sign and break out the costs. So when I'm buying those signs or getting cost quotes for those signs, I'm gonna get a separate price for that third sign. Because Mario had the idea that potentially we don't need a full-blown foundation and instead to just hang a sign that's a little less grandiose, for lack of another term, hang it on the chain link fence.
Remember that chain link fence is working, it's closed, nobody can get in there during school hours or on the weekends, that
Yeah,
gate is
that's all
closed.
programmed, but in between the two is I don't know, 10-foot long piece of fencing
That we can just-
that I think we could just hang a fence on.
Yeah.
I mean, a sign on rather.
Yeah, I'm sure we could do that, if that's what you prefer. I know that there's utility coordination for the foundations, which
Oh.
we felt we could coordinate around, but Dan, sounds like you have other concerns.
About the utilities?
Yeah,
Utilities, no, none. I can, we can put a mat foundation and put a standing monument as you've drawn in that location.
right.
Remember the
So I think
prices that we've encumbered, it's over $130,000
For three
free
signs.
signs, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So we want to put one of those signs right on the fence,
I like
it
to
should
be
be so
conservative.
much cheaper.
Jeez.
What's the sign say?
What's that?
Huh?
What's that?
What's the sign say?
Torrington
Yeah.
High School, middle school.
Don't answer the question.
I have to go back to a couple of building committee meetings in which we really.
No, I knew that, but my point is, yeah, I'm not sure who's seeing the sign on the fence, the birds?
The
The buses
The
that are
bus
driving
driver.
in.
The bus driver.
Do it daily, they drive in daily. They get lost.
Yeah, yeah. And that would give you, is there a sign back there which says call so-and-so for gate access? Yeah, so, yeah, could we look at that, hanging it on the fence,
Sure thing.
save some money, clean the building?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clean the building.
Exactly.
So moved, Dan.
All right, that's it for me.
It ain't passed, don't worry about that.
That's, wall placard.
That's
Sure
it.
you don't have like
Okay.
5 more things you want to go through?
No,
No, that's it.
I'd like to.
Okay,
I'd like to
two
do something.
things, can I talk now?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, on October 11th, we had the first O&G Builds program, was with the staff and career paths. We had about 16 kids, and it starts on November 8th is the next one. Also, starting hopefully in January, the apprenticeship rendering training cycle start in January. If you remember, we had 11 students, high school seniors, go to that program, 120 hours. So we're getting the dates to meet first, and then the principal and assistant principal interview all the kids who they feel to go through the program. So that's another great program for that. And again, we will have the career fair probably in May or June, like we did last year. Again, finally, we had 16 residents and graduates on this project, so, that's great. Anything?
No, just so exciting. It's getting there.
Yes.
Well, great meeting, thank you. Nothing, thanks.
I just have a question on the sewer hookup. Was that
What?
ever the sewer hookup, was that ever resolved?
No.
That's all. Good meeting and great, tour.
I have a weird question.
What's that?
The entranceway that goes into the school now,
The high school? Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
that road that goes up past the skate park on the left, the parking lot on the right.
Right,
There used to be no parking signs up there. But I don't think they're there now, so the other night there was an altercation because the cars are parking all up the
Oh, yeah,
left side.
yes.
So
Oh,
people
yeah.
can't make the turn in.
but they won't do that anymore once the lot is open up next month.
Right,
Because
what
they'll
I'm
park in the
worried
lot.
about is
Yeah.
that a bus who's coming back at 9 o'clock
Oh,
at
again,
night
yeah.
is not gonna make that turn in. Because, so like tonight when I came up, they were right over the yellow line, parked up and down the whole entrance. But with the F and E coming, I don't know if we can put the no parking signs back up.
Then you can-
So the altercation started because the guy said it's a no parking zone, I can't get my vehicle in to pick up their kid from sports.
Right,
And the guy said there's no parking sign, so we're not moving. But I think it's gonna be a bigger problem with our bigger vehicles trying to get in and out of there. Cause there used to
not
be no
sure.
parking
so that's,
signs.
you're
up
talking
and
about
down
traffic from the skate park, is that what you're?
Everybody who parks at the
Parks-
skate park.
the skate park
encumbers-
parks on-
Yeah,
there.
they're
Parking
parking
on
on
the road
the
into the high school.
But that is a temporary condition, because the parking lot will be open.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
once we pave
Once
that
it
parking
paves,
lot.
everybody's gonna park in the parking lot.
right.
So it's a temporary condition until January when the parking lot opens.
Yeah.
So your skate parkers will be, have plenty of places to park then,
It'll be
Right.
crazy.
although it's a board bed parking partially and city parking partially.
Right.
Yeah, the buses aren't gonna make the turn in there with those,
But in
all those
the,
vehicles.
in the short term or in the interim.
Saturday.
I
there's
guess-
some sort of temporary parking ban that can be implemented there.
Yeah.
I saw them hanging no parking signs today, because they were trying to do the fencing.
Yeah.
Right, but they're not, so tonight they were parked too wide. So you know
Oh
how
my
it's two
God.
lanes, they're too wide, so the second car is over the yellow line.
Oh, my God.
But the back is closed, so the bus can only go in that way.
Can we use our?
I mean, it's still a school.
Attack this, that's somebody up there.
Well, they were on the curb a couple nights ago.
Yeah,
They're pulled
Oh,
up
yeah.
on the curb.
right, but in the absence of, so I called the traffic to see that night, but they said if there's no parking signs there, then there's nothing you can really do.
And so it
They
may
can put up
become a
temporary
problem
police
someday,
signs.
right?
Yeah,
They can put those up quickly.
yeah, temporary,
Temporary, they do for funerals.
also,
Our property
Ultimately,
goes
next
up
summer,
to the
when
high
there
school.
is even, you know, the pool is open and your skate park is open.
Off of
And your
Winthrop.
school is open, you may have a parking problem again, and people may be curbside parking
Right.
along Major Best again.
So is that.
So you may want to take it up on
Our drive up, yeah.
police department that becomes a no parking.
so.
Yeah, but that's not their street now, right? That becomes ours, right? From,
I don't think it's a public street. I think that's more.
That's what they call.
that's our driveway, so
That is the
That's-
problem.
We
wasn't,
talked about this, remember?
wasn't there no parking signs on the
No,
driveway
that-
before
that's
this?
There was before, but then
Because
they
that's
put
the
temporary.
argument
I got
that
it.
worked against
But
us
it's
on
gonna-
many occasions.
Yeah.
That you-
Nightmare.
that it's your road, you take care of it.
Yeah, it's our driveway.
That's in this case, the lower parking.
That's what I'm hearing, I think we really have a public road that the police can enforce.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, I definitely hear you, I've seen it, I go into
It's
the
bad.
soccer games, I haven't seen them double park,
I haven't seen them.
that's just crazy, but,
But
daylight
it's not
savings-
even the grand opening yet, so I'm more
Yeah.
concerned.
Daylight savings time is happening, I think this weekend.
But there's lights on the skate park.
Yeah, they're there at.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're there
lights.
at 9 o'clock at night.
Ah.
So,
No, they had their own lights.
So would the fire department have an interest in having the street wide enough for a fire truck to get
Yeah,
through?
yeah, it's the police department has to get involved somehow.
If it's-
If it's our road.
If it's our road,
Right.
it's our road,
That's a different
and
story.
we put no parking on there, right? If it's our road, we put no parking signs there,
You may have-
will the police
You might have to.
act upon that?
Not if they don't feel like it.
No.
Not if they don't get their picture in the paper.
And they don't act on Winthrop Street anyway because they park beyond the parking there also.
I just don't want it to be up to a bus driver that gets back at 8 o'clock at night with all these kids on the bus to figure out that they can't get into the parking lot.
We may need no parking signs on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, we need no parking signs.
No parking signs, toes up.
Yeah, something, I'll talk to Dustin Baltimore to see if I call him, cause and we have no parking signs, somebody's parking it, can he respond to that? I don't know on the private parking lot. I don't think you could in a private parking lot. But it's not really private, it's city. 'Cause
Yeah, but you can't,
I'm
you
not
can't
sure how it
park
goes.
two abreast and cut off access to a property.
Right.
You know, like you said, if there's a fire.
Even if it's only a single file, they go up, and the bus can't make it turn.
I mean, it's,
Yeah, if you could.
the priority has to be the buses in that road.
All right, so Dina last.
Next meeting, November 21st. Adjourn at.
Hold on 1 second, 1 second. Was I supposed to ask? Okay, oh, that's it.
Or just make the committee at large aware. We spoke to, last year you had a St. Jude's telethon event. The people that organized that event contacted us last year and introduced, how they go about tying in their equipment for the event. Knowing that the event may occur going forward, they were invited to come to the new building, assess where they would park their equipment and how much power they needed to power their equipment. They came through the building last week and they provided that power requirement to, again, Jeff Lamont, who's on site. And that information has now gone to SLAM, who will be looking at how to provide that power in a location that's convenient for plugging in their satellite truck. And just FYI, it's not a small amount of power what they're asking for. So once CES looks at whether that can be provided locally it will be a determination of whether it's a, $4,000 cost or if it's far away. They're gonna have to either park their equipment closer to the power source, or you'll be looking at a larger cost, could be, in excess of 20 grand.
Wait a minute.
The current school has an adequate power source? for the-
Oh, God.
What they do now is they actually come in, they take out one of the panels and they de-energize it and they land their wires in the panel in a most safe way that I won't mention out loud.
Yeah.
And we don't think that they should do that in your new building.
Who's the cost fall on though? It's gotta fall on
So
them.
that's what Mario asked
Yeah.
of the people that run that
Yes,
event.
yeah, I said, who's paying for it? So, so what's
So what it
next?
entails is we looked at two locations for what they drive up on property with a van that has satellite capability. That van needs a significant amount of power, 200 amps at single phase through a wake. And so they pull a big fat cord of power and they need a special plug to plug that in. Unless, of course, you take apart the panel and you land the wires directly in the lugs, which you're not gonna do in the new building, because I won't.
Or they can use a
Should they bring a
generator.
generator?
Run it with a generator,
Yeah.
potentially.
Well, what happens at like a mobile unit? They're still broadcasting, they're not plugging into.
Yeah, how do they get their own juice? Exactly.
Generator.
Yeah.
Exactly. They also need a second component, which is a hole in the side of the building in order to pull the phone wires into the building and distribute them to what they call a phone room. And so that information was shared with SLAM. And so that's what would be your ideal situation if you ever wanted to have broadcast events from your high school.
All right, so two things. So Ken, are you working on that?
I learned about it yesterday, so I have to catch up with Jeff and understand the requirements. I didn't know about the hole in the side of the building, Dan. That's for bringing cables from the truck into the building?
Yeah, they described it as like a 2-inch diameter bundle of fiber optic wires that they draw in for the phones. And so we were looking at some sort of an access door in the veneer over at the loading dock. And then, core through the cement, the CMU block up wall, the backup wall that's there.
How did they?
That's
bring
the
it
small
in?
part of the problem. The big part is the power part.
Yeah, so the second part
How'd
is
they bring it in the old building?
dragged it
It's
through
prop a
open
door.
doors.
Yeah.
They leave the door
Prop a
open,
door.
which is, we don't wanna do, but all right, so Kemp is gonna work on it, and
Is
second
there
part
a
of my
cost to
comment is.
review that?
So, if,
There-
To review that,
Wow.
because it really isn't in the scope of the project.
No, no.
yeah, I was gonna say, if there's any chance that it's not gonna be paid for by the project, and, you know, maybe like a generator is gonna be the solution, I'd rather not incur the cost with my engineer.
Well, I think I speak for everybody where there's zero chance that we're paying for that. I mean, we wanna be nice, you're gonna have the,
But we
Gonna
wouldn't
have it
adapt
there
the
every
building
year.
for any other organization.
no, we just
Not
can't do
Unless
it.
there's a way to monetize having that capability for the district, and I don't know how that would be, but.
Well, ESPN's not coming to play in it.
You can go out into the rent, 36 kilowatt generator, which is about a little bigger than what they would need for about $1,200, $1,500 a day. But they,
It's only a one-day affair
One-day affair.
every year.
All in,
That's all
in
it
and
is.
out in one day.
Would
That's
take them
it.
30 years to break even.
Right, if you went with the worst case scenario, I again always throw some bad news at you. That's taking power from the main distribution electrical panel all the way through the now finished completed building up to the middle school area. If indeed the middle school electrical room has 200 amps available, then the cost is simply, extending a wire 20 feet and you're in the low cost range.
But what is the cost to do the engineering study and stuff?
Yeah, that's gonna cost money.
Again, you still have to fill the pool.
All right, so
I can talk to CES and see if there's capacity in the middle school for, say, whatever the choir, you said 200 amp?
Yeah,
I mean, we can have that conversation and know that answer with no cost, but it's just, if they have to design something to go from the main switchgear room to somewhere else, that's gonna be some.
let's do this. You find that out, Kemp, and then we gotta get word back to these people that we're happy to help you. You're gonna have to pay for the design and the construction, just like the bank did.
Yeah, I was just
Right.
thinking, just like the
Right.
bank, just like the
So-
grant union.
All right, Kemp, yeah, find out, Kemp, okay?
Yeah, will do.
All right, Eddie, wrap it.
What'd you forget?
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make.
Case.
But you
Well,
don't-
yeah,
you
yeah.
didn't ask.
Now we have two more for the
Yeah.
combination of good of the order.
Go to the order.
good night.
Rachel may have one.
Rachel, I got a question, one more question. How you make it out with the antenna to the press box? From the top of the middle school?
So I found out that the antenna that goes from the press box to the building is actually by Pixelot, which I guess is
Is what?
provided.
Is what?
Pixel?
It's by Pixelot, which is provided by one of the camera companies that we have mounted.
NFHS
Oh,
through
we don't have to-
CAC is Pixelot.
Yeah,
That's their antenna?
that's what I was told.
So we have, that you can view the football games through NFHS.
We got rid of them.
No, we didn't.
We got the Huddle now or whatever.
In addition, we have Huddle in
We have
addition to,
both.
we installed the Huddle one. So this Pixelot camera is the one that is broadcasting.
Yeah, so I learned that that's their equipment, so, yeah, I gotta dig a little
All
deeper
right,
into
keep
that,
digging.
yeah.
See, for better understanding, so on your existing high school, there is an antenna that broadcasts signal to your press box. Point to point area.
Signal or internet or like an actual network
There's a
connection.
little patch panel in the press box. That's
Yeah,
how it gets
I'm still
communication.
trying to piece it all together. Apparently that there's an antenna mounted on the outside of the building that reaches the one at the press box, which gives the press box internet.
Okay.
Then there's another one that goes from the press box to the electrical box that's out by the gate so that we can control the gates.
Yeah.
But we don't own them. So when the building, well, actually, that part of the building doesn't get demolished though, does it? It's
Is
mounted
it
outside
mounted on the high
the,
school?
it's
On the
mounted
gym, rather?
outside the
Weight
weight room.
room.
It's on the weight room. So yes, that part of the building doesn't get demolished, but it doesn't have power anymore in January.
That's okay, you won't need it until soccer and football starts again. Well, that's not true. You need it for track.
And if you want to control the gate.
Right, gate and
Oh,
the camera up there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Rachel,
Yeah.
catch up with me afterwards. I can tell you how to solve that problem.
Okay,
Okay,
So the new building, we went on the roof of the new building, you do have line of sight. So if you were to put an antenna on the new building or relocate the existing antenna to the new building. In the January turnover, if 730 feet of point to point works with the current antenna, then it's a matter of just moving it. Like we're moving the antennas that control Dean's two-way radios from the existing building to the new building, you know, on the weekend.
Point of reference, these, just so you guys know, they're $99 antennas.
They're $100.
They're $100
I like that.
each antenna, and they can go 20 kilometers. And inside of a mile, they can do a half gig, so
Okay.
this is
So we
no
should just
problem
get a
to
new
solve.
one.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what the range
Yeah.
was on them.
I'll help you with this, no
Okay.
problem.
Oh, good. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. We even have a volunteer. I don't mean that.
I get it.
So it only costs $99 for the antenna, for me to put it on the roof and drill the hole through the roof. Yes, but we get.
We'll figure it out then.
Okay, Case and motion to adjourn. Okay.
On favor.
All in favor?
Yeah, it's all we can do.
Uh,